Hello everybody, I've become aware of some controversy surrounding Shadow of the Erdtree, and yes, I'm part of the problem, because I think that games should be fair, like Sekiro.
Grab his dick and twist it!
And that's a personal character flaw that I'm currently working on, and I ask for the patience of the Souls community as I go on my journey of personal growth. A foreign concept to Souls players who will run it down a single boss for 3 days straight. It's kind of hard to understand what flawed boss and level design actually looks like because get good, right? Though funny how nobody ever says that about Bed of Chaos, because of course they don't. To preface, I have roughly 460 hours in Elden Ring and all Steam achievements. I'd fucking hope so, right? I'm not really here this fine day to talk about fun. I'm not H-Bomber guy. This video is about both Shadow of the Erdtree as a demonstration of FromSoft's incompetence and FromSoft's entire catalog and how they brainwash the community over time. So this isn't going to be like a cohesive gameplay analysis of all or any single Souls game. An Elden Ring video on its own would be like 3 hours long, and I don't have that kind of time, patience, or frankly, effort. So I'm gonna say some stuff that I don't have time to fully justify in this video alone, and I'm not saying you're a terrible, no good person if you disagree with me, or that you're bad faith. I don't really have time to decipher your specific intentions, I'm so sorry. Innocent until proven guilty, that's my motto, unless you live in Perth, in which case, well, 5 feet of rope should be enough. Sometimes I talk to people who defend Elden Ring's game design and try to explain the mechanical problems I've observed and the lack of a curated experience in lieu of some puddle-deep player freedom that only causes cringe scaling problems that unsurprisingly caught up with the devs in the DLC. Okay, so I just checked Twitter. Apparently, like, somebody shot at Donald Trump. I'm learning this now for the first time, as he would say. Anyway, back to FromSoft. Holy fuck. And people would tell me in response to what I'd laid out, you're right about the lack of telegraphing, the 13-move long attack chains that every boss has, the balancing issues, the spirit ashes carrying you through boss fights, but you don't understand. These are just problems you need to find a way around. You have the freedom to go about the game the way you would want. See, this is the genius of Miyazaki. His game design is intentionally bad so that you'll have even more trouble overcoming it. Miyazaki, this guy's your goat, the guy who said, simply put, I wanted to feature a big woman. I think it was one of Fujiko F. Fujio's short mangas that was about a strict CEO type guy being soothed through his acquaintance with a giant woman who coddled him like a child at a unique therapy facility. That's like a personal fantasy of mine. In brackets, laughs. I like the thought of a warm and compassionate woman who is bigger than me. That's actually a fantasy that a lot of men nowadays share, only they're not thinking of the same bigger that Miyazaki is thinking of. It speaks to something we lost as we grew up. Anyway, that's why Guinevere is a giant, laughs. I also made the motions to have the player kneel and kiss the back of her hands because that gesture is also something that I like. But it didn't make it into the game. If you're asking about her ample bosom, that wasn't my doing. Yeah, I'm gonna have to press X on that one. What was I talking about? Right, you need to get good? Imagine saying that shit to a League of Legends player. You get fucking eviscerated. So here's a little game for you, the audience. If you listen to anything I say and dismiss it because I need to get good, just for now, because we're not on Twitter or a Discord VC, so maybe don't. Hold on. Here, can you go hold this for me while I set forth to enact sexual intimacy with thine mother? I promise you, I am gooder than you will ever be in 100 lifetimes. In that respect, under-the-counter stimulants work very similarly to Shadow Clone Jutsu. I gain years of experience in only a single play session. That's my cursed technique, you see. It's called work ethic. I have both time and patience, and a man can do anything if he has those. Domain expansion. Unemployment. One of the key qualities of being a Soulsborne fan is that they will convince themselves that it's never the game's fault, it's their fault, for not being autistic enough to memorize an attack pattern more aggressive than their abusive stepfather. Now, I'm going to explain this cool armchair psychology fact in 2 parts. I think this is mainly the reason any of this controversy started in the first place. Part 1, your brain doesn't work on the problem from start to finish if you already have the answer. It works backwards from the answer. Your subconscious creates a reason as to why the answer had to be the correct choice all along, or why the wrong answer had to be the incorrect choice. Yes, your brain gaslights you. It does this every day in a lot of ways, and this is well documented. And this leads to part 2. Let's say for hypothetical sake, Elden Ring is a terrible game, just the worst, but Jim likes it. And no, I'm not condescending anyone or saying this is you, but it might be, you might be a little loser boy who doesn't know he's being gaslit. a little clone, a little slave to your little fucking stupid brain mind. So Jim, he goes onto Twitter and sees someone lay out the most cohesive argument that a certain boss is mechanically flawed. Jim has two options from here: change his opinion or change the context, and unsurprisingly, deciding to change the context of a criticism is what we colloquially refer to as bias, whether conscious or unconscious. In Ending 1, Jim changes his opinion. Jim realizes that while he had fun with the boss, it was indeed conceptually flawed. In Ending 2, Jim consciously or unconsciously decides that because he liked the boss and was incredibly satisfied when he defeated it, that the boss therefore has to be a good boss. Jim may make this reply in good faith or bad, because it is actually possible to be biased and good faith, especially if you've held this opinion for a long time. Here's a pro tip: whenever you're trying to change someone's mind, you can't do it in one conversation without making them hate you. Jim may say that this Twitter user, a twat if you will, doesn't understand the boss at all, downplaying or outright denying any problems that may exist. Or your build is wrong, which kind of defeats the point considering Miyazaki said, quote, "I don't want to enforce any playstyle or particular route," end quote. Or, as we've previously discussed, that these aren't flaws at all, they're features. The theme here is that Jim will shift the blame onto anything but the game design itself and onto you. Therefore, get good. They will say this to people who have beaten the game and are still making these criticisms. But some people may go right back to the start and say, but how did he enjoy the boss if it was bad? Surely because he enjoyed it, that makes it good. Well, I really enjoy Batman and Robin. That is a dog shit movie, by the way. Really enjoy it. Bad movie. So, enough said, I guess. So, when I see this, my mind, for whatever reason, imagines the violent self-destruction of an African immigrant JavaScript engineer having a brain embolism. And people will die to this, and say, yeah, my bad. In the medical field, this is commonly referred to as Stockholm syndrome, and the first step of rehabilitation is recognizing that it's not your fault when an enemy raises their fist for 10 seconds and brings it down faster than Chris Breezy brings it down on his wife. Fucking Elden Ring players be like, it's your fault.
Don't fuck with me, alright?
So yeah, I played Sekiro afterwards, and I don't think you truly understand how refreshing it is going from Shadow of the Erdtree to Sekiro, where enemy attacks are not only well telegraphed, but learning a boss or enemy pattern takes like 3 minutes, and no enemy has an attack chain more than like 5 moves long, unless that enemy is designed to break that trend to be unique and challenging to the player. It is a highly curated experience with all the spectacle of Elden Ring, but the restraint to not give every boss some big magical 3-minute long anime move. A big part of Elden Ring's game design in particular is what FromSoft wants from the player, despite Miyazaki's insistence on player freedom. They want you to get stronger, and who can blame you for leveling up in a video game? They want you to use Spirit Ashes and actively punish you for not doing so with the DLC's extremely aggressive bosses. So while it's nice that Miyazaki says he has player freedom at number 1, that isn't actually reflective of the game. You better dodge all 10 of Renella's attacks, because if you don't, you'll spend your 2-second damage phase on a single Estus only to have Renella input read your heal and go on the offensive immediately. The solution? Spirit Ashes. You don't want to use Spirit Ashes? You want to play Elden Ring like literally every other Soulsborne game ever? Tough shit. FromSoft simply didn't know how to scale the game around player freedom. So you get the worst of both worlds, making there be only 2 states a player can naturally fall into via FromSoft's game design: Coughing Baby or Atomic Bomb. Only through careful speccing of your character, you might be able to find a middle ground. Excellent work, English. There's just one tiny problem. Nearly all the boss fights are garbage dog shit. Some literally worse than Bed of Chaos, because at least then, FromSoft were trying something new. They failed, but golly gee, they tried. With the new bosses, they lack any kind of intention. The 4 Kings in Dark Souls 1 was a DPS check. Kill them as they come up or you'll be overwhelmed. The monkeys in Sekiro are a passives check, testing your mechanical knowledge. Ornstein and Smo make you fight 2 opponents at once with complementary movesets. And with that in mind, here's a question. What is Rolana meant to be? She's a timing check because of her incredibly long attack chain length and tendency to hold her sword over her head for 3 seconds before attacking, though this is a problem with literally every enemy in the game, because God forbid an enemy just attack you. An improv check due to her several input reads, a defense check due to her 3 damage types that come out in phases, meaning if you're not building fire, magic, or physical defense, you better dodge or you'll find yourself on the grey screen after getting 2-shot even though you have 1500 health. A build check due to Rolana being an endgame boss, boss, i.e. you better know what you're doing, and a dodge/poise check because of, you know, the unending attack chains that two-shot you. Which is different to strictly a timing check because that's about using items and knowing when to back off. And these are made up categories, but you can make your own at home right now. Just think about everything that Rolana does. I mean, it might be quicker to think about everything that she doesn't do. So what I'm highlighting here is what the fuck were the devs thinking? What was the goal with Rolana? What was she meant to be? What was her purpose? What was she in particular meant to demand from the player? Well, apparently everything. This is something you would expect from like the endgame boss, and not like endgame as in you're like near the end, like the actual fucking final boss of the game. Like when you fight the boss and Snake Eater for the last time, and you use all of your skills that you've honed over the course of the game to beat them. Rolana is like the second fucking boss in the DLC. This is a problem that most players don't even think about. They don't consider the design as they play, and more power to them, insane as they are for fighting these new bosses and not realizing that they are designed the exact same way. Don't even get me started on the open world. The way it's designed necessitates a wiki, something I hate in just about every game, but in Elden Ring, you really need that shit. If you want one specific talisman, good luck finding it because the open world design makes any item a needle in the haystack, especially with Erdtree fragments, which are a poor attempt to scale the DLC to the player. The question is, why isn't the DLC designed to be an addition to the base game rather than a separate expansion? This is a problem because the DLC is effectively just a new area, no different from anywhere else. Also, the story doesn't affect the main game at all, which was a massive missed opportunity. My voice is dying, Jesus Christ. On a personal note, I didn't use one of my previous characters, and for the month leading up to the release, spent 40 hours on a new character creating a Raiden build, and had a great time doing so. But after about 5 hours in the Shadow Realm, I was bored. Extremely bored. I found myself going back to explore the main map over playing the new content. I don't really know why this is, but it kind of just felt empty. With all that being said, and thoroughly disappointed by Shadow of the Erdtree, I decided to buy FromSoft's latest game, Sekiro. And yeah, it's the best one. But we'll probably get Elden Ring 2 before Sekiro 2, and it looks like FromSoft might actually make a good Elden Ring 2 with everything they learnt from developing Sekiro. This is truly the apex of FromSoft innovation, the level design and attention to enemy placement, the improved stealth system, the bosses, each representing a distinct challenge to the player that is both intuitive, but also makes you think outside the box. No larval tier grinding required, everything you need is readily available. Even the quest design has become more streamlined and easily manageable. And they finally not only made a real story, but a good one, with good characters. FromSoft finally figured out that when the main character has a face and a name and a backstory, and get this will really fucking blow your mind, he talks. You know, I'm just as surprised as you are. Oh, wait a second. This can't be right. Sekiro came out in 2019. What happened? Why did you make everything worse? How did you make everything worse? Did you lose the fucking design document in office fire? Did Trump take them to Mar-a-Lago? Why is every boss fight just an arena fight? What happened to the monkey puzzle? What happened to shame? Every FromSoft game is literally just 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps to the left, do a backflip, land on your face, get up, you've suddenly teleported to the nether, find and kill baby Hitler, look around, you've been superpositioned to good, mid, or bad at completely fucking random. Regression and confusion is the story of Miyazaki. If a game studio had dementia, it would be FromSoft. And while FromSoft is seen as the king of Souls-like, it may only be a matter of time until other studios outshine them, or the shared insanity of the Souls community is lifted. Lies of P was fantastic, and after playing Sekiro, the inspiration is undeniable. I cannot stress enough how much a face and a name does for a story, which Lies of Penis also does. It's just great. Go play it if you like Sekiro. With all that said, and the sorry state that both FromSoft and the Elden Ring community is in, what is next for the Souls genre? I think only time will tell.